Hey everyone and welcome to today's video. In this video, I'm going to explain how you can easily make an interactive mini album. So interactive mini albums are basically mini albums with a lot of interactive elements such as photo pockets, photo flaps and photo booklets. And I also like to include different closure types to make it very interactive and a lot of fun. And if you would like to make an album like this yourself, then this channel is definitely the right channel for you. On this channel you can find a lot of different inspiration videos, so a lot of different project shares and walkthroughs of mini albums I have made in the past. And I really have made countless different albums like birthday albums, travel albums, as well as baby albums and wedding albums. You can also find project shares of some holiday related albums such as Halloween albums and Christmas albums. But not only can you find a lot of different project shares on my channel, but also the tutorials to actually make those albums. And for making those albums, I actually use a mix and match system. That means that by taking some easy steps, you can actually make a very unique album by mixing and matching different interactive page styles. So every time I make an album like this, I choose the page styles I want to use in this album from a collection of 50 different interactive page styles. And then after choosing the page styles for the album I want to make, I can just go ahead and decorate the album for the theme or occasion I chose. So in this video, I will go through in detail what you would need to use the system and how it works. And I would recommend to watch this video from start to finish so that you don't miss any information. And especially if you're not thinking that those albums look very hard to make and very complicated, then keep on watching because I promise you it's way easier than you would think and you can make an album like this too. So even if you have never made an album like this, I really tried my absolute best to make it as easy and as beginner friendly as I could. And I want to start by showing you which steps you would need to take to make an album like this. And I have divided it into 5 different steps. So first you would need to, of course, make the cover for the album. Then for step number 2, you also need to make the hinge for the album. So that's where you can later on attach your basic pages to. And the crafting of the basic pages is what you need to do for step number 3. And then step number 4 is for choosing and adding the interactive page styles to your album. And then for the last step, which is step number 5, you can decorate your album, as I said, for any theme or occasion. And for each step, you can not only find the video tutorials on my YouTube channel, but you can also get the cutting guides and templates in my online shop. And I think it's exactly this combination of using the cutting guides and templates along with the video tutorials, which makes it so easy to make an album like this. But I will, of course, show you right now what these cutting guides and templates exactly look like. Those cutting guides are available for each interactive page style. So for each interactive page you could use in your album. And as I said, I actually have a collection of 50 different interactive page styles. And then, of course, there are also cutting guides for the album cover, the hinge, and the basic pages. And when designing those cutting guides, I made sure to give them a very open and clear layout so that you can easily access all the information you would need. So first you can find information on which tools and which materials to use to make those page styles. And then right next to that, you can find the image of the page style, which is very helpful because it's actually labeled, which you can't really see in this illustration right now, but it's labeled with the letters of the individual pieces you would need to make to actually build this page style. So for example, for page style number 1, this would be cardstock element A for the closure flap of this pocket, and then cardstock element B for the actual pocket. And for knowing how to actually cut and score those cardstock elements, you of course would also need the measurements and scoring information, which you can find next on the cutting guide. And then I also included the instructions to build this page style on the cutting guide, but they're not very detailed, so these cutting guides are not meant to be used as written instructions, so I really would recommend to always use them along the video tutorials. And to make it very easy for you to access those video tutorials, I also included a QR code and a link to the video tutorial here on the cutting guide in the bottom left corner. So depending on if you want to print out those cutting guides or use them digitally, you can either just scan the QR code by using your phone or tablet, or you can just click on the link to get to the video. And then the notes are just for you, so maybe you have some changes to the page style or there's something you struggle with every time you're making this page style, you could just leave a little reminder or leave your changes in this box. And I actually think that once you have made a page style maybe 1, 2, or 3 times and you use the video tutorial, then you would probably be able to no longer need the tutorial but just look at the cutting guides for the measurements. And that's why I also wanted to include those basic instructions on the cutting guides as well as give you this little space for your own notes. And although you have the image of the page style on the top corner here, which as I said includes the labeling of the different cardstock elements you would need to build this page style, I actually wanted to make it even easier to actually know what those cardstock elements are supposed to look like, meaning how they are supposed to be cut and scored. And that's why I wanted to also include templates for each individual cardstock elements. And for most page styles and templates, you likely will just use them to actually double check if your cardstock element looks like it's supposed to look. So as you can see, the templates include the scoring lines, cutting lines, as well as, of course, the measurement on both sides. But the templates are in original size, so you could actually print them out and use them as actual templates. And this is very helpful for all the cardstock elements which are not just rectangle shaped. So for example, this text-shaped cardstock element A on the right side here is a template I would use as an actual template. So what I would do is printing it out, cutting it out, and then I like to back it onto some chipboard so that it's very sturdy and I can just use it over and over again every time I'm making this page style. As I said, the cutting guides and templates are just the perfect addition to the video tutorials in which I actually show you step by step how to build these page styles. And for the video tutorials, I made sure to make them very easy to follow and show every single step. And to have those videos go very well with the mix and match system I'm using, I really wanted to have a single video for each step or for each page style so that you don't have to watch a very long video when you're actually just interested in some steps or in some page styles to use in your album. And of course, depending on the page styles, some of those video tutorials are longer and some are shorter, but I really made sure to keep them as short as possible and stick to the instructions and step-by-step video tutorial. Now I want to talk about how I actually sell those cutting guides and templates. So there are actually 2 bundles you can get. So bundle number 1 includes page style 1 to 25, so the first 25 interactive page styles, as well as the cutting guides and templates for the album cover, the hinge, and the basic pages. And then there is the second bundle including page styles 26 to 50. So this bundle also includes the cutting guides and templates for the page styles, but also for the album cover, the hinge, and the basic pages. So you can just decide which bundle you want to get or if you want to get both. So you don't have to get bundle 1 first to also use bundle 2. And I definitely love having both of those bundles because with both bundles, you have a collection of 50 different interactive page styles you can choose your page styles from every time you're making an album. And as you can see on the bottom here right now, these bundles are also available for different album sizes. And with this being said, let's go back to the illustration of the different steps of making an album. Because before you start with making the album cover, you would of course need to choose your album size first. And for now, you can get both bundles for albums in the size either 6x6 or 8x8 inches. And in centimeters, this would be 15 by 15 centimeters or 21 by 21 centimeters. And as you can see here, I also plan on doing more cutting guides and templates for other album sizes, such as 8 by 6 inches, which is an album size I really love, but so far I didn't manage to film all the new video tutorials for this album size, but depending on when you're watching this video, it might already be available. And when referring to the album sizes being 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 inches, then I'm actually referring to the pattern papers you would need to actually decorate the basic pages. So this means that the album cover and the basic pages are in fact larger than 8 by 8 or 6 by 6 inches. So as you can see here, for the album cover for an 8 by 8 inch album, it would be 9 inches by 9.5 inches. And that's because when I developed the measurements for this mix and match system, I really wanted them to go well with the pattern papers you would use to decorate your albums. That means that, for example, when you are making a 6 by 6 inch mini album, you could perfectly use a 6 by 6 inch paper pad without having to cut down the pattern papers. And I have to say that I definitely love all the album sizes. So I have made albums in the size 6 by 6 and 8 by 8 inches, as well as 6 by 8 inches. And there are different reasons for when I decide to go with a 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 inch album. So if I have a 6 by 6 inch paper pad I want to use, then I would of course choose a 6 by 6 inch album. But if I want to use a 12 by 12 inch paper pad or collection kit, I could still make a 6 by 6 inch album, but I could also go with the 8 by 8 inch mini album size. Another reason for choosing an album size would be the photo sizes you want to use. So for a mini album in the size 8 by 8 inches, you could of course use photos in the size 4 by 6 inches, which is standard size. Or you could of course also use smaller photos. And then for an album in the size 6 by 6 inches, you would mainly use photos in the size 3 by 4 inches or smaller. But I have to say there are also a couple of page styles designed for the 6 by 6 inch mini album on which you could also perfectly use photos in the standard size 4 by 6 inches. And even though you can of course include more photos in an 8 by 8 inch mini album, I sometimes choose my 6 by 6 inch mini album exactly for that reason. Because sometimes I just don't have that many photos I want to include, or I want to gift this album to a friend for a small occasion. And sometimes I also choose the 6 by 6 inch mini album size because I just don't have as many pattern papers I can use. Or I already did an album in the size 8 by 8 inches with a collection I like, and then I noticed that I have a lot of scraps left, or I even have some papers left, so that's when I would do another album with the same collection in the smaller size. And then for albums in the size 6 by 8 inches, they're really great if you want to use your 6 by 8 inch paper pads. But as I just said, they might be not available just yet when you're watching this video. And that's because for the 6 by 8 inch albums, I really want to remake all my videos, my video tutorials, because other than the 6 by 6 inch and 8 by 8 inch albums, it's also a different format. So they're no longer square albums. And that's why I really want to film new video tutorials. Because for the 6 by 6 and 8 by 8 inch albums, you would actually use the same videos. So that means that you have to choose your size first, and then you get the cutting guides for the size you chose. And then you just have to stick to the measurements on the cutting guides and templates, and then you can just use the cutting guides along with the video tutorials. And that's also the reason why I no longer mention the measurements in my videos. So I actually really want the videos to be available for different album sizes. And then it's the cutting guides and the templates which give you the exact measurements. Now, as you have probably noticed, I use inches instead of centimeters for all my measurements. And that might be a surprise because I'm from Germany and I grew up using centimeters instead of inches. And I actually just learned about inches when starting crafting. But there is a whole video on why I prefer inches for making mini albums instead of using centimeters. And I really would recommend for you to watch this video because it also might change your opinion on using centimeters, even if you're used to use centimeter measurements. And in this video, I not only talk about the reasons why I prefer inches, but I also explain to you in detail how to actually work with inches and why it's much easier than you might think. Now, that's everything I wanted to share with you regarding the album sizes. So let's have a look at the first step, which is making the album cover. But there's actually not much to say except for that you can use the cutting guides, the templates, and the video tutorials so that you can easily make your own album cover. But depending on when you're watching this video, there might be another video on different closure types you could use on your album cover. But so far, I always use a ribbon closure, and you find the information on how to add the ribbon closure in my video tutorial for the album cover. So let's have a look at the second step, which would be to make the hinge for the album. And before making the hinge, you can actually choose if you want to do a hinge for 4 pages or for 5 basic pages. And each bundle includes the cutting guides for 5 as well as for 4 hinges, so you can simply choose how many basic pages you want to include in your album. And if you want to use the 4-page hinges, I just want to mention here that you already have 8 pages to add your interactive elements to, because you can of course use the front and the back side of each page. And in addition to that, you could also use the inside of the front and the back cover of the album. So that's 2 more pages actually on which you could also place your interactive page styles. So that means for the 4-page hinge, you can actually include 10 different interactive page styles. And then for the hinge for 5 pages, you can include 12 different page styles if you're also including your page styles on the inside of the cover. But if you want to include even more pages in your album, then you can also use the additional page flaps, which you could add to each of your basic page. But making the basic pages and the additional page flaps, if you want to include them, is part of the next step. So let's have a look what the next step includes. So after you've finished making the album cover as well as the hinge for the album, you can continue by making the basic pages. And as I said, if you want to, you can also make some additional page flaps, which you then later add to the basic pages. And basic pages are just the base for the interactive page style. So you first need to make the basic pages, which you can attach to the hinge of an album, and then the interactive elements, which are parts of the 50 different page styles, will be added onto the basic pages. So depending on the hinge you chose, you would need to make either 4 or 5 basic pages. And the same applies for the additional page flaps. So for the 4-page hinge, you can actually add up to 4 additional page flaps, but then for the 5-page hinge, you would be able to add 5 more additional page flaps, so 1 to each basic page. And without getting into too much detail here, I just want to mention that a basic page actually consists of 2 cardstock elements, which makes it very sturdy. But then the additional page flap is just 1 cardstock element which you would add to the basic page. So it's not as thick, and that's the reason why I actually wouldn't recommend to also add interactive page styles onto the additional page flaps. Or at least don't add very heavy interactive page styles to the additional page flaps. So for example, my page style number 2 is a page style with a whole booklet on it. And it's a beautiful page style, and you can definitely add it to a basic page, but I wouldn't add it to a page flap. So I personally, for most of the time don't include any interactive elements onto these additional page flaps, but I still love including these page flaps in my album. So I actually add them to all my basic pages, and the way I use them is by using them just as simple pages. So that means that I would add my photos on there, maybe some journaling, maybe some stickers, and of course pattern papers, but I just don't add any interactive elements to them. So if you want to make an album with the most possible interactive page styles, I would recommend using the 5 pages hinge with 5 additional page flaps. That gives you 22 pages. You can add either your interactive page styles or just your decorations too. So as I said, out of those 22 pages, I would add my interactive page styles onto 12 of them, the inside of the front and back cover included. And then to the rest of those pages, I would just add my decorations and photos. Now let's have a look at the next step, which of course is my favorite step in this whole system, because that's the step 4 in which you would add your interactive page styles to the pages. For step number 4, you can choose your interactive page styles out of 25 to 50 different interactive page styles, so depending on which bundle or bundles you got. And this is such a big and beautiful collection, and I really made sure that you get everything in this collection. So you can find pages with flaps, you can find pages with pockets or with booklets. And some of them close with a magnet closure, other page styles close with a ribbon closure or elastic closure. I have page styles with some swing features or some Velcro circle closures, which makes those page style very interactive and a lot of fun. And that's such a big collection of page styles, so that every time you're making an album, you can mix and match those page styles and make this album completely different to the album you made before and have every album to be very unique. I mean, you can not only combine those page styles, but you can also repeat a page style in your album. So you can have one page style which you like a lot and just have it multiple times in your album. You can mirror your page styles, or you can leave a page style. As I said, you can have some pages which are just simple pages, so without any interactive elements. There's really a lot you can do with these page styles. You can also, because it's a square format, you can choose the orientation of the page style. For example, for the pocket, you can have it as a bottom pocket, but you could also have it as a side pocket if you want. And especially if you're just starting with making mini albums, you can also choose more simple page styles and just repeat them in your album. So for the first album, keep it simple, and then the next album you make, you can go with more advanced page styles if you want to. And I, of course, have my favorite page styles, so I'm not gonna lie here. I definitely have some favorites which I always love using, but I still like all those 50 page styles, and I'm very happy that I have this collection so that every time I'm making an album, I can choose my page styles, because there are actually some reasons to choose a page style over another page style, and that's what I want to talk to you about right now. So, for example, my page style number 1 is a page style I love using, and I actually always end up using it on the first page, so actually on the inside of the front cover. And that's because not only could you, of course, just place some photos inside the pocket, but you could also use the pocket to keep different things with the album. For example, if you're making a travel album, you could just add your boarding pass or ticket, as well as maybe a map from the city you went to inside the pocket, and just keep it in here. Another reason for choosing a page style is how many photos I want to add to a page. So, for example, when making a travel album again, I really like having either the double page or just one single page for a day. And then I would just choose it according to how many photos I have to document the day. So let's say I had a fun day and I want to include my favorite 5 photos of this day. Then I would maybe go with my page style number 10, which includes these flaps which open to the side for 4 different photos. And then you can also add a photo in the middle of the page. And then sometimes it's not how many photos I want to include on the page style, but it's the size of the photos I want to include. So for example, page style 35 is a page style for larger photos. So for the 6x6 inch album, that would be photos in the size 4x6 inches. And then for the 8x8 inch album, that would be photos in the size 6x8 inches. So that would be the perfect page style to highlight some photos in a larger size. But a lot of times I actually make my albums to give them to friends or family members. And that's when I actually don't care at all about the photo sizes or how many photos they would include, because I just don't know what they're using the albums for. And that's when I actually choose my page style based on the decorative elements or papers or cards I want to use to decorate the albums. And I especially like using those journaling cards, which are included in a lot of different collection kits and paper pads. So if I use a collection kit or paper pad, which includes these smaller journaling cards in the size 2x2 or 3x3 inches, then I would definitely use my page style number 15, because that's the perfect page style to include those smaller journaling cards too. So most of the times I really like to get inspired by the decorative elements such as stickers, ephemera pieces, chipboard stickers, or as I said, the journaling cards and pattern papers I use. Another example would be my page style number 11, and that's a page style with a swing feature. And for the swing feature, you could use either a chipboard sticker or an ephemera piece. You could also use a die cut you have in your stash, which matches with the collection. And this like swing feature would then be the reason why I would choose this page style to include in my album. And if you want your album to be even more interactive, then you're more than welcome to also have a look at my add-on style bundle, which is an additional bundle you can get in my online shop. And this includes 30 different add-on styles you can add to your pockets or behind a belly band, so you can just include them in your album along with the interactive page styles. And originally, I made those add-on styles to include in my interactive folio style number 4. So I didn't really plan on using them in my mini albums, but now I really love to also include them in my 6x6 and 8x8 inch mini albums. But let me just quickly explain to you what a folio is and why a folio is a little different to a mini album. And the main difference is that a folio is basically a mini album, but without the hinge, which doesn't leave you with so many pages you could add interactive elements to. So they are not as interactive, but also much quicker and a little easier to make. And so far, I have 4 different folio styles, which are also available. So the cutting guides and the tablets are available for different sizes. And I especially love making a folio as a gift because, as I just said, they're much quicker to make and also just perfect for any scraps or leftovers from a collection you already used to make an album. But let's go back to the add-on styles and why I originally designed them, because as I said, they're perfect for my folio style number 4, because folio style number 4 is a folio with a large box in the middle of it. And for these add-on styles, which were actually part of a YouTube series for Christmas in July, I really focused on the closure types you could use on them. So a lot of those add-on styles have very fun closures, which I actually didn't include on my page styles in my bundles. So for example, there are add-on styles with a slide closure and a belly band closure, and also some add-on styles with a snap closure. And the series is free to watch on my YouTube channel, so you can just have a look at the add-on styles, and then you would also be able to get the cutting guides and templates for those add-on styles in a bundle of, as I said, 30 different add-on styles in my online shop. Now let's talk about the last step, which would be to decorate your album. And for decorating your album, you can of course use whatever you want to use. And I especially like working with either a paper pad or a collection kit, because especially when using a collection kit, I find that all the stickers and journaling cards, as well as the pattern papers and ephemera pieces, go very well together, which makes it very easy to actually mix and match your pattern papers. And there are actually so many different brands with collection kits and paper pads you could use to decorate your album. So I really prefer using collection kits by either Echo Park, American Crafts, or Simple Stories, but there are so many more, and you can actually find paper pads or collection kits for any theme or occasion. And besides using the journaling cards, the stickers, and ephemera pieces I most of the time would get with the collection kit I'm using, I also like including some stamps and die cuts. But I have to say that most of the time I wouldn't get the die cuts and the stamps with the collection kit I want to use, but instead just use any stamps and die cuts I have in my stash. But these are just examples of what I like to use for decorating my albums. And as I said, you can use whatever you want to use, and you can add some mixed media to your pages. You could actually do a completely style of decorating, and yeah, there are no limits to what you use in your albums and which style you like. But if you're interested in getting more information on how I like to decorate my albums, then there is a video on my YouTube channel which you can watch. And in this video, I talk more about how I match my papers, how I match the colors and the patterns, and what I actually do to break down very busy patterns as well. So I actually share a lot of tips in this video, so I will just link it in the top corner right now, and you can watch it if you're interested. And as I said, you can really make those albums for any theme and occasion, and that's what I love the most about making mini albums. And if you are anything like me, then I would say after finishing the last step and decorating your album, you probably end up just starting with the next album and making a new one, because that's actually what I do all the time. I just finish an album and then I'm already thinking of the next album I want to make. And I'm almost sure, and that's also the feedback I got a lot of times, that it's the same for you and that you will end up using those digital cutting guides as well as the templates with the video tutorials over and over again to make a ton of different interactive mini albums. So if you now want to start crafting and make your very first interactive mini album, then you can simply click on the link in the description box and get the cutting guides and templates in my online shop. And to watch all the video tutorials for making an interactive mini album, you can also find a link in the description box, and this link leads you directly to the playlist with all the video tutorials. And that's it for this video, so I hope that you enjoyed watching it and that I was able to answer all your questions about making these interactive mini albums. But of course, if you have any more questions, then feel free to leave them in the comment box down below. And if you like this video, I would also love to get your feedback in the comments, as well as a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And then I just hope that you have a wonderful day, and I would love to see you in my next video. Bye!